We all know that they should be on our website, and we know that they should be generating leads, but they're not. How come they're not? That's what we're going to talk about today on this episode of Motivation and Momentum. Let's get started.
On this episode of Motivation and Momentum, we're going to talk about how you can generate more leads from your website and your IDX feed. But let's first listen to Matt talk about what exactly is IDX.
Yeah, it's information data exchange. Basically what it is a portal that allows agents to cooperate with each other to display information that their potential consumers or their clients would be interested in regarding houses. Yeah, so if you're able to search on your own website the information that's available through the multiple listing service on your personal website, even if it's a website that you bought through your local board office or whatever, when you can search those houses, not just them being displayed, but search and see details about it, that's that information data exchange.
Now that we know what IDX is and where we typically see it, let's take a listen into this clip from a recent mastermind where Matt talks to agents from across the country about, do they have a website and do they generate leads from it?
Who has their own website? Does anybody have their own website? Raise your hand real quick if you got your own website. All right, fantastic. You get leads off of it? No, not really. Who gets leads off of it? Raise your hand if you get leads off of it. Yeah, that's right. All right. So there you go. Good stuff. All right. So how come you don't get leads off of it? Anybody want to take a guess at this?
So that was some really good feedback from the agents. Now let's talk about some expectations that we need to have whenever we're running online paid ads.
So let's talk about your expectations for everybody. Whenever you run an ad, whenever you get leads on your website, whenever you put any kind of broad marketing out there, whether it's postcards or whether it's, like I said, running an ad on Facebook or running an ad on Google or something along that line. What's your expectation? And man, I'd like to hear from everybody on this. Kathy, what's your expectation? If you ran an ad on Facebook, Kathy, what would your expectation be?
Well, I would expect that lots of people would answer the ad or click on it. And if they click on it, then our CRM would capture it.
I like it. So would it be a couple of people? Would it be a lot of people?
It would be just a few people probably, because not everybody when you post something, not everybody sees it. There's an algorithm, I guess, if I get that right, that will say who gets to see it. And
yeah, that's correct.
Not every one of your friends or the public will get to see it unless you pay a little bit of money.
Yeah. There's a difference between a post and an ad on that. Absolutely. So a post, they're going to show it to a small percentage of the people you know, and an ad, they're going to run it to a different group of people. Some of them might be your people. Some of them might be people that have clicked on other things for you, but odds are they're just going to run it to a bunch of different people. Okay. So if we ran an ad, here's what we run into on a decent amount. We run a digital ad, and all of a sudden we expect that we're going to get a lot of traffic and a lot of business and a lot of people clicking and saying, hey, I want to buy a house. You have to remember the whole reason for running the ad is simply to get somebody to raise their hand, to get people to raise their hand. That's what you're actually shooting for. It's not to convert somebody to a closing. Converting somebody to a closing is your job. You're the one that's going to take them from where they were to the closing table. A lot of times, whenever we're running ads, how do we justify running an ad so many times? If I just get one closing out of this,
Mm-hmm.
if you have somebody selling you advertising, digital advertising, what do they tell you? If you just get one closing out of this, it's going to pay for X amount of that.
Yep.
Right? Man,
Yep.
You hear that all the time. That's the wrong focus. Man, I'd love for it to be the right focus. Gosh, I'd love for it to be the right focus. But that's the wrong focus.
So now that we have our expectations where they need to be, Now let's talk about the difference between an online lead and something like an open house lead.
If you get online leads, it is not the same as converting them as if somebody walked into an open house. It's just not the same. Now, your hope and your skill set and your system should be to convert that to a similar place. At some point, the lead that came in online, you do want to be doing the same thing with them that you would be doing to a buyer lead that walked into your open house. At some point, you're going to convert them in your process so that they are similar. But the beginning part of that is not the same.
So when we're talking IDX, we're really talking about competing in our market against some of these big home search websites. So first we need to understand, why do visitors go to those sites in the first place?
Why do people go to those sites?
Are
Anybody?
you talking about eight?
I would-
Well, why do buyers go to Zillow?
It's easy. It's like tapping the Google search, right? If you
Easy to
homes
find.
for sale, yeah, it's up there.
Tanisha, how come they go there?
I would say because they didn't want anybody to bother them. It's almost like, looking for a car without a salesman. Yeah.
Anonymity.
Yeah.
Completely agree. Why else? I'm going to break this down to Kathy.
They're trusting the source, which that's a rough one to grapple, right? Zillow said my house is worth this, so yeah,
Yeah.
They've
Yep.
heard of it because the companies have spent thousands and thousands and thousands of
Millions.
dollars to publicize it, and that's not the kind of money that we can spend. So we're not going to be able to compete on that level. So we have to come up with a different reason for people to go to our website.
Okay, Kathy, I completely agree, and we're going to dig into that. I'm going to push back on everything that y'all just said. You guys all just answered it like a bunch of real estate agents. You all answered it like a real estate agent. They go to Zillow to look at houses. Period. That's why they go. Uh-oh, wait a
Kathy.
minute. We got
Kathy got in
we got a
trouble.
mutiny. We got a mutiny, Kathy.
Weirdo. What's up, weirdo?
They go to look at houses. Period. End of story. That's why they go there. If you want people to come to your site and stay on your site, make it look like theirs to begin with, and then have localized information on it.
With all of this, you may be thinking, gosh, I don't even know if I want to step into this arena. It sounds a little complicated. Let's listen to this clip where Matt talks about how it's simpler than you think it is.
I know this sounds like it's difficult to accomplish. It is not. You have to dedicate time to it. You have to have a system that's powerful enough to be able to allow you to do it, and you have to have an IDX feed. If you have those things, this is absolutely something that could help you make your website a destination that people will go to. Do you send out a monthly newsletter? Does your newsletter go to your website? Can people click? I love it, Heather. Do you have call to actions to go to your website? An example would be, an example would be, here's my featured listings for this month. Or click on this in the newsletter. Click on this link to see if to see how to make sure an investment property is a good fit for you. And then they click on it, and where does it take them? To your page, because you have an IDX feed that says investment properties available now, and underneath that, it's got an investment calculator. Do you have to do all of this? No, you don't have to do all of this. Can you pick one of these that matches what you're trying to accomplish and focus on that? Absolutely, and then start driving people there.
Now you know there are several ways for you to have an amazing website. But if we generate leads from that website, we need to make sure they go someplace. And that's why it's so important that they're connected to a CRM. Let's listen to Matt talk about that.
You have to learn your system. You have to learn your website. Your website should be connected to your CRM, period, end of story. You should not have a website, in my opinion, being run and operated by one company and your CRM happening with another one. You just shouldn't have that. It's going to cause issues. It needs to be native in order for that information to flow the way that information is supposed to flow, right? It's supposed to go from one place to the other.
So now we know the systems that we need to have in place. We know that if we spend the time, we could possibly build that ourselves. But let's listen to Matt talk about if that investment is better than actually having someone else do that for you.
Absolutely. If you're just getting up and running, 100% you should go with an inexpensive, cost-effective way of generating a website, 100%. If you want to generate trust and authority, and you want your website to look like those other sites, at some point you're going to have to make an investment in that. That investment could be money, could be resources, could be time. There are a lot of sites that you can get for little or nothing that if you're willing to go in there and make some updates and change some things and move some things around, absolutely they can look a lot better. Is that the best use of your time? We could have that conversation too.
Now let's listen to Matt talk about how having a hyperlocal website with a powerful IDX can position you as an expert inside of your market.
So here's how you win at this. If you do a good job communicating with the people that are in your database, what ends up happening is we all know that they're going to look at Zillow. We know that they're going to look at Realtor.com. We know that they're going to look at all of these different places, right? We get that. What we have to make sure that we're doing is when they look, they come to a trusted source and says, "Is this number correct?"
Yeah.
You know, I got my Zestimate as an example. You want the people on the soccer field that you're friends with, that you're communicating with, all that kind of stuff. You want them to say, "Hey, I was looking at Zillow and I got my Zestimate on my property. Does that look right?"
Yeah.
That's how you know you've won with your database.
Yeah.
The way that you make sure that you're getting that information to them consistently is through your IDX feed.
Gotcha.
Instead of saying, "Hey, go to Zillow as much as you possibly want and look at all the information on Zillow because it's got a bunch of great information there. And then when you get ready, call me." Guess what's not going to happen? You're not going to get that phone call.
Yeah, you know it.
Right. And they're going to call and they're going to click on something. They're going to bump into something. They're going to see that somebody's going to see that they're looking at the same house 3 or 4 times, or that they did the estimate on their house 2 times in a 30-day period. All of those things are warning signs inside of a system that somebody is getting more interested in possibly selling. Right.
Yeah.
So if that's happening on someone else's platform and it's not happening on yours, you're not getting that data. And 2, they begin to trust that information from somebody else, and that's going to override their potential trust with you if you're not careful.
In this next clip, Matt talks about why people go to your website. Is it to learn about you, or is it to learn about houses? Let's take a listen.
Yeah, 100%. So what it does is it helps make sure that you're getting consistent information to them, and it's information specifically about what they're looking for.
Yeah.
Right? So it's personalizing that conversation. Okay? It's not that you can't go to Zillow and put your criteria in and all that kind of stuff, or go to Realtor.com and put some criteria in and save your favorite searches and all that kind of stuff. Absolutely, yeah, you're going to do that. But if your website, the only thing that it has available on it is all this information about you, you're missing the important part. The conversation is really about them.
Yeah.
And so what is it? Why are they going to a real estate website? To look at houses. Period. You can't forget that part of it.
Yeah.
Okay? So what you have to do is you have to make sure that whenever you're having the digital conversation with them that you're having, okay? Yeah. Meaning that you've got the information, you're trying to put it out there in front of them, you're trying to make sure that you're displaying to them what you want to display to them. Don't forget why they're on your site. They're on your site to look at houses.
Yeah.
They're not in there until much later on. They're not in there trying to discover about you. They're not trying to learn more about who you are and what you do and all that kind of stuff. There's a time and place for that.
I wonder if he likes dogs.
Yeah, exactly. There's a time and place for that. It's much later.
Yeah.
Just stay really hyper focused in the beginning. The reason why someone's looking at a real estate website is because they want to look at real estate. That's where the IDX really comes into play, and it's got to be a powerful integration.
So buyers and sellers may be thinking, well, why should I go to your website when I can just go to these larger home search websites? Well, it's your job to make sure that they understand why, and that's what Matt's getting ready to talk about right now.
Yeah. So what it does is it's going to give you the information that you know is important to your clients. Okay. Mm-hmm. So let's be crystal clear with this. The reason why home websites display homes is so that they can gather leads and sell those leads to agents.
Yeah.
That's the only reason why they're doing that. They're not doing it because they want to help the public see more homes. Right. That's not why they're doing it. They're doing it so that they can sell more leads to people that'll buy them.
Right.
Right. Okay. So with that being the situation, there's that ulterior motive there. If you have your site set up with that house information that we just talked about,
Yep.
plus you have other information that is designed to help them in that situation, that's what's going to build that trust. And, you just touched on a really great point, telling them, hey, look, whenever you go in there and you have questions about anything and you just, contact me or text me or whatever it is, just know that I'm the person that's going to be helping you out with that. Me and my team are the ones that are helping you out with that. You're not going to get sold to this is a very important line, in my opinion. When you go and when you ask for information on my website, you're not going to be sold to the highest bidder.
Yeah.
It's important that you put that in perspective.
Yeah.
It's important that they understand that it's not just that the site is being set up so that they can grab onto somebody and sell that information to however many people they sell it to.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
That's what's going to build that trust with them, is being able to have that conversation.
As we mentioned before, it is so important for you to be positioned as a local expert in your market. Let's listen to this clip from Matt in a recent podcast where he talks about how to accomplish just that.
Yeah. So you're talking about really specific engagement is what you're talking about.
Exactly.
Right. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to narrow down what's displayed to them. This goes back to that trust thing. This goes back to that thing that, do you know your people well enough to know what they're looking for? And so you and I have talked about this before, right? So in Florida, pool homes are a big deal.
Right.
In Colorado, pool homes I don't think are that big of a deal.
Yeah. Skate rinks, I think they call them.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right. So it's not that big of a deal. So setting up a search that is all about pool homes doesn't make any sense. And not that one of the large companies out there does that. Not that they say, hey, look, let's put these searches on there. But you can. Because you're smaller and nimble like that, you could put something on your site if you were in Florida that says pool homes in whatever city this is, and they click on it, and that IDX search just pulls that specific information.
Yep.
Or you can go to specific neighborhoods, and you could go to a page that has just those properties on it, but you could also put a button that says, do you want the HOA documents for this subdivision?
Yep.
You could put it on there. Now all of a sudden you're more trusted in that situation. Now all of a sudden you're more engaged in that situation, right? Between them, because you are being really specific and localized. So if somebody's on the one of the big sites, they're not going to go put all the HOA documents on there. Yeah. They're not going to get really specific about that. They're not going to know that this subdivision actually has river access. And they're not going to know that this subdivision has covenants, conditions, and restrictions that are part of their taxes that are part of the CDDs. That kind of stuff. You get the point. Yeah. So you can put that stuff in there because you have that search. So you could have all of the properties that are in a certain area and then have a button underneath it that says, learn more about community development districts and how much it costs you on your taxes. And then you click on it, and that can literally just go to an explanation on the county property tax site.
Yep.
These other competitors that are competing for for the attention of your customers, they're just not going to go through the effort to put that in there because it is too localized.
Yep.
Absolutely, you can be that localized. Absolutely, you should be that localized. Absolutely, that's what should be going out in your monthly newsletter. Absolutely, that's what should be going out in your emails, your email campaigns that you're sending out. And your initial follow-up whenever someone reaches out and says, yes, send me some information about this property. That should be your initial follow-up. Hey, by the way, you look at my website because I put information about the covenants, conditions, and restrictions for different areas in there. You can download a copy from my site if you'd like. All of that kind of stuff are things that allow you to go that extra step, that build that trust, that's going to create that engagement. And if you've got it set up right, they're not going to see something on one of these big sites that they're not seeing on your site.
Yeah. Now, most of you know that we have a live mastermind that we do every Thursday from 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time to 1 o'clock. It's absolutely free to attend. Here's a clip of Matt talking about what's coming up on an upcoming BOP Live that's related to today's topic.
In an upcoming Mastermind BOP Live, we're going to talk about how it impacts SEO, because that is important to agents.
Yep.
Okay, we're also going to talk about how to set some of that up in a way that does allow you to generate more leads from it.
As always, I'm super grateful that you're able to spend this time with me today. And don't forget to check out the links in the description below. Register for BOP Live. Can't wait to meet you on Thursday. And don't forget that Brokers Open Podcast, powered by Prime Real Estate Coaching, it's not just about opening the door to more opportunities, it's about closing more transactions.